Homecoming weekend edition of Hawkfanatic is brought to you by Patrick Eads and his great crew at Deary Brothers Ford Sales and Service, Hawkeye Title and Settlement, the great Steve Anderson and his staff, Mike Slock and E-Keys, Supple's Siding and Remodeling, Supple's Building and Remodeling, that's GT Carr and his longtime crew, 800 Rose, the Midtown Family Restaurants, Harty and Stocker Jewelers, downtown Iowa City, the Sanctuary Pub, Premier Automotive, the Oxyoke Inn in the Amanas, Jimmy Street and his wonderful business Streets Maintenance, the Wild Rose Casino in Clinton, and Dr. Lance Forbes Diamond Dental in Cedar Rapids. Good morning, Tom Suter.
Well, good morning, James Hunter.
How are you today?
I'm pretty good.
Yeah, it started off nice, but it's kind of crappy right now.
Well, it
Kinda
is.
spitting and cloudy and windy. Perfect day to just hang in the house and relax.
It's fall weather is what it is.
The sun's supposed to come out later this afternoon, and should be pretty good weather for the homecoming parade tonight, and then, of course, the game tomorrow. So,
well, you mentioned one of our fine sponsors, Hawkeye Title and Settlement, and he's got his homecoming feed today.
Yes, from 11 till 2, I believe.
Uh-huh.
So most of us will be making an appearance. Tommy Lang's all excited because he's not doing the midday show, so he gets to go this year.
For like the first time in 10 years.
It's been a while, yes. Yeah. And I get to go too, so I'm excited. So
I'll pick up my blushing bride and we'll go there.
Yep. So we got that going for us. And, of course, yesterday, the Big Ten announced the football schedule for the next decade. Seems like.
Well, half decade anyway.
Yeah, really. We were just talking about that. You know, they don't do that in like the pros. You know, you get a year in advance or something like that. But they're all the way through 2028 with the Big Ten Conference.
Well, and that's assuming they don't add any more teams.
That's true.
Because if they do,
it'll revamp again.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, in other words, I guess for the 2027 and 28 schedule, we may put that in soft pencil.
Okay.
Morning, Pat.
Good morning.
How things?
Can't complain. All right.
You can.
I guess I could.
You have the forum.
Yeah, we knew they were coming out. That's what there was no surprise with the schedule.
Well, yeah, I know, but
they were going to come out with a 28. It could change, but they're running out of teams, Tom. It's not like there's a ton of teams still out there. I mean, they want Notre Dame, and they'd probably take one more. I don't think they'll go much before over 20.
I think you're right.
And I think it only depends on Notre Dame. They're not going to just take. If they would have done that, they would have taken Washington State and Oregon State.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I could see this stabilizing for a while. It all depends. But if Notre Dame wanted to go in there, they would welcome Notre Dame with open arms. They would love it. That's why I think they want more than anybody is Notre Dame. And for Notre Dame's got its own reasons, does not want to do it.
So I wonder what. There's going to be enough teams that won't be affiliated with, quote, the Big Ten, SEC and stuff for Notre Dame to still have the kind of schedule they like to have.
Well, their schedule's not like it used to be at all. It's not near as strong as it used to be.
No, it's not.
I mean, they played Tennessee Tech, I think, this year. But if Notre Dame's 11-1, they're going to be a player in anything. They're going to be 11-1. Notre Dame team's going to be in serious consideration. Well, they would be in the new playoff system, but a fourth playoff system. If Notre Dame's 11-1 this year, I think they're going to be under. They may not deserve it, but they're going to be probably in the playoff. They carry more clout than about anybody.
They do.
Fair or not, that's just the way. I just don't think Notre Dame thinks they need the Big Ten right now for football. I mean, why else would you not join?
Yeah, because the money's awfully good.
Yeah, I mean, but their new negotiated contract's going to give them close. But there's something to be said about having your own network and your own. I mean, they seem to really like that. Notre Dame's got so much endowment money anyway, to where they're financially they're fine. But I don't know. We'll see. Part of me would like to see Notre Dame in the Big Ten, but I guess the part of me also kind of thinks it's funny that they're still an independent, and the Big Ten has tried so hard to get them to join.
Every time expansion has come up, that is the first institution that's mentioned as we would like to have them, and they don't want to come yet.
No, but I mean that stuff yesterday. Iowa 5 games next year on the road, or one's at Maryland, they're all over the place. They play one bordering state next year on the road. It's all just money. I mean, that's the this is all being driven by money. I've had a couple fans read, "Oh, this is great. These student athletes they'll love these trips." Just so the fans know, they don't get out there 3 or 4 days in advance and go on site. They land the day the day before the game. They go through all their meeting. They're in the hotel most of the time, so it's not like these are going to be sightseeing tours in Seattle and L.A. and what have you. These are going to be long, arduous road trips, playing at weird times, possibly on weird days, but it's all
playing good teams
and playing good teams. Well, one of the fans reached out and said, "Yeah, they should want to play bigger teams." I get that, but we'll see how you feel 2-3 years from now. Because, like, your argument is you prefer the path of least resistance for your satisfaction and goals.
I do, but on the other hand, our home schedule this year is just awful. I mean,
from an entertainment
but
they could, they very well could go undefeated at home, and then you'd be happy.
Well, I would be happy.
Just bored.
It's just I mean, so home.
But even if Iowa was playing exciting teams, that doesn't make Iowa any more exciting.
Well, that's true.
So at least Iowa offense.
That's
I mean the Iowa defense is what it is. But yeah, it was just. I saw the schedule. And see, they're at. I mean, would you have the?
I got it right here.
Yeah, I mean they're at Maryland. They're at UCLA. They're at Ohio State. They're at Michigan State. I mean Michigan State's
Minnesota.
In Minnesota, and that's the only bordering state.
Right.
Michigan State's their closest of the non-bordering state, and that's a 15-hour road trip in a car.
Yeah, I've done that once.
And Halas he added it all up. He tweeted it yesterday. It's 8,700 miles altogether, all those road trips together.
Wow. Well, you got East Coast and West Coast, and then
a flight to Ohio State's not close.
No, it isn't.
That's almost a 20-hour round trip drive by car. So yeah, that's just the way it is, and it's the new world, and location, time doesn't have any. Down the road, I wouldn't surprise me if you see Iowa playing at Washington on a Friday night at 9 o'clock. I mean, because that would be 7 o'clock on the West Coast.
Yeah, of course.
I think, and 10 o'clock even, 8 o'clock on the West Coast. If TV says it, damn it, they're going to do it.
Somebody tweeted out this week that there's a football game on every day through the November 22nd. So every night there's a game.
You mean
somewhere.
Monday through Sunday?
Yes.
College?
Yes.
It's been that way for a couple of years now. There's no day. I mean, a lot of these MAC teams play more games midweek on weekdays than they do on the weekend, just because they want that TV slot while nobody else is playing. That's just, and everyone. I just don't think that's fair to the student athlete. But I don't think the student athlete's a priority in any of this right now.
No, not really.
Money has taken over for the student athlete, and this argument, these kids are going to love this. So that's easy for us to say. We're not the ones
we're not schlepping out there and
maybe yes and maybe no. But I don't think UCLA is going to enjoy playing.
I don't either. I think it should be worse for them
in November.
I think it should be worse for the teams on the West Coast.
I do too,
because of what they're leaving. I mean, if you're in Illinois and you're not going to play UCLA and Champaign in late November, but the alternatives to play them in LA, I mean, that's. At least from a weather standpoint, that's a step up, whereas the other way around. But it was interesting. Somebody reached out to me yesterday and says, because I brought the scenario up that they could play on a Thursday night way late on the West Coast, and they wouldn't be back more than likely. The thought of them being back for class the next morning, like at 8 o'clock, somebody reached out to me and said, well, there wouldn't be class on Friday. Yes, there would be. They just wouldn't be there probably.
Probably.
Or if they would be there, that means they're landing at 3 or 4 in the morning, getting home, maybe having an hour nap before going to an 8 o'clock class. See, those are the little things that this stuff doesn't take into account. Or I'm sure when these people sat down to do all this stuff, that was all brought up, but just the money in front of them was just – well, the kids are just going to have to suck it up because we cannot turn down this money. It's just too much. I don't think anyone 10, 15 years ago could have envisioned it being this much, and they don't know how to handle it. And it's just going to be anytime, any day, any place. It doesn't matter.
Well, 10, 15 years ago, I wouldn't have imagined that Washington and Oregon were going to be in the Big Ten.
Oh, I couldn't have either.
No.
But like I said, I've had some people say, there's no way they'd play on a Friday night at 9 o'clock. Yeah, they would. That's 7 o'clock on the West Coast. There's going to be that.
Yes.
That's going to happen, and it's going to be Thursdays. And if they want to make Wednesday a day, this stuff, there's nothing that's off limits now as far as scheduling. And it all revolves around what can make the most money.
Now, from a fan standpoint, in 2026, I've already talked to my friend who lives an hour from the Washington Stadium, and we've reserved their downstairs for the 2026 game, whenever that will be.
That's the one that Washington is the one road trip. I've been to L.A.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been to the Rose Bowl. I've been to L.A. a couple times. I've been to Eugene. I've never been to. I've never been to the university. I've been to Washington, but I've never been to Seattle. That stadium right off the.
I have not either.
That's one that I'm looking forward to.
Me too.
God knows what's going to be happening 3 years from now. So, but yeah, no, it was. For a lot of the people in the media, this was like the moon landing. See, I mean, I was curious, but once I saw it, I'm like, okay, but I couldn't bring myself to write a column because I just don't care enough. It's a schedule. It's the new world we live in. We've been talking about it for a while now, and you just got to get used to being not surprised by anything that might seem surprising, if that makes sense.
It does. Now, as far as a doomsday schedule goes, the one that looks the toughest, all things remaining equal, which they probably won't, but this 2027 where we travel to Oregon, have to go to Wisconsin, and then at home we have Michigan, UCLA, and USC.
But no Ohio State or Penn State.
But no Ohio State or
I
Penn
guess that's
State.
how you look at the silver lining. Yeah, but
the other thing is you have three absolutely marquee teams coming into Kinnick Stadium, and that's.
Well, at least who knows where UCLA is going to be?
Well,
in 3
that's
years.
right.
They've been up and down,
and who knows where we're going to be?
Chip Kelly may not even be their coach in 3 years, and who knows where Iowa's going to be?
Yeah.
27. I don't think Kirk will be the head coach in 27, and I'm not saying I think he's any. I'm not saying his job should be in. That's just. Let's see, 24, 25.
That's 4 more.
That
years.
would be 4 more years. I'm not convinced that he's going to coach that long, and I'm not saying that for any sinister reasons or like I think he should step down or I think no. That's just my hunch right now.
So yeah, I mean it's good fodder for discussion, but there's no question. We've some of the Patsy schedules like this year are going to happen again.
Oh, they'll never happen again. Now they have kept Iowa State on, at least on.
So far.
So far, and I prefer that, and I
do too.
I prefer that. I know it would be a lot easier to dump them and maybe just pick up. I mean, what do you pick up another MAC school? I mean, to be honest with you, the Iowa versus the MAC games just.
I mean, what are our out of conference games at Kinnick next year? Iowa State, Troy,
and Kevin.
And the College of Cardinals.
I don't know who the third one is.
I can't remember.
I mean, you could easily. You're going to Google
Jim,
it?
you want to?
The Midwest Clown College? Is that
There
it?
you go.
Google Iowa's 2000.
I did a bunch of schedules, but not.
That would be 2024. Troy has been good at times.
They have.
But they're not at the same level.
No.
They're not they are. Troy's the kind of school, well, they've had two. Jaden McDonald, the linebacker, and then, of course, before he was involved in the gambling, the defensive back, Reggie Bracey, transferred to Troy, if I'm not mistaken. And they were looking for a place for playing time. Mm-hmm. And Troy's kind of it's in Alabama and what have you. But, yeah, no, the schedules like this are gone. That's why I do believe Iowa will be 5-1 by the end of this weekend. I'm still convinced.
It's Illinois State, Iowa State, and Troy.
Yeah, I mean, Illinois State.
Be still, my beating heart.
Those are, I mean, I don't like games like that. I never have, but I get it. Illinois State gets a big paycheck. It's close. It's an easy road trip. And for Iowa, it should be
a probable victory.
Almost certain victory. And maybe the kind like you have against Western Michigan where you're able to score some points and flex your offensive muscles for at least one game where you ran for 254 yards and what have you. But yeah, the schedule is going to be forever moving forward much harder.
Yep.
Kirk knows that.
He does.
And it's going to be the same with basketball.
Okay, now the good news, bad news is Iowa's the only Big Ten school with 3 protected rivalries.
Yeah, which
is good news, bad news.
And we knew that
how
was
you
going to
look
be
at
the case because that was
Yeah.
I mean, let's see, Minnesota, Nebraska, and Wisconsin.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
which is I'm fine with that. Partly I'm fine with it because they're all easy road trips.
Yes, and
I look at it that way.
The other thing is Penn State has 0 protected rivalries.
Well, partly because Penn State hasn't been in the Big Ten very long. I mean, Penn State's been in the Big Ten. I know it sounds like a long 30 years, but that's really not that long. They joined in the early 90s. And there were all these rivalries that Iowa still has protected now, other than Nebraska. Those were big rivalries then. Iowa, Minnesota, and Iowa, Wisconsin in the 90s. Iowa, Nebraska has been made a rivalry because they're bordering states, and the fan bases hate each other. And it makes for good talk, but a lot of it's just location. But
it is. That's right.
I think it's funny that they honor these protected rivalries for location, but then location means nothing anymore as far as conferences. See, I'm old-fashioned. I like conferences to be based on geographical location.
I do too.
I mean, the fact that Missouri's in the SEC and Oregon's in the Big Ten, I mean, it's just, and like, isn't like Creighton basketball in the Big East?
Yes.
I mean, it's just a, what's that movie? It's a mad, 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 mad world. That's what it just seems like in sports now, college sports, all because of money.
And television.
Well, that's television
the
is the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if it was something else that was doing it, but no, it's television, but it's money. And it's just something that they were, I don't think, prepared for, and now they're like, my God. It's like they win the lottery every day in college sports now. Look at this money coming in. Look what this TV network's willing to give us to do this, and it's just pouring in.
Well, of course, the TV networks make their money by getting the advertising.
Well, yeah, I mean, look at how much the Big Ten Network pays off. And I don't want this to come up. Do I think the Big Ten Network's that great of a network? Do I watch it much?
No, I don't either.
I don't. Other than when maybe I was on or there's a game. I don't ever watch the Big Ten Network.
No. I don't literally never watch ESPN anymore.
Unless it's a sporting event. I never do. I mean, I never watch ESPN anymore unless there's a sporting event that has my interest. But yeah, that's but some people are because the advertising's out of the
and so who ends up paying all this money? We do. Mm-hmm. And that's just the economics.
So yeah, it's I had forgot that's when there was that it was going to come out. I mean, like schedule. I mean, it was out for an hour. I was out running errands before I even got it up on the website. I mean, but were some people I think were just waiting for the moment that thing was dropped, and then it was, my God, look at this.
Well, it took me an hour and a half to reserve my friend's basement in Washington. Well, I mean, we'd like to go on one road trip a year. I mean, and that will be fresh.
So are you leaving soon for that game?
For Washington game?
Yeah.
To 2026, yes. We'll be leaving early
Tuesday?
next week.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Well, who's going to cover Hawkfanatic if you guys are both on the West Coast?
Will Wapsie just go with you for 3 years?
Sure.
I saw your good bride in the store yesterday.
That's what she said.
She was shopping for chicken noodle soup.
Yep.
And I told her to give you the recipe because I want to.
Oh my God!
I want to
Pat,
make it.
It is so.
I want to make it myself sometime.
Good.
Oh, I'm sure it is, and I've been wanting to make chicken noodle soup for the first because that's the kind of thing I can eat over and over. Leftovers and.
Oh yeah.
I
make a big batch of it all the time.
I could eat the chicken noodle soup 2 or 3 times.
And
a
I
week.
spend $8 for a bowl of it at Panera. I'm guessing $8 would buy me almost all the ingredients I need.
Oh yeah,
close.
A little bit, probably.
Well, but it'd be more than one meal. I mean, it would be.
Yeah, it probably would be more than 8 though. If you figure you need chicken, you need carrots, you need. But I almost always have carrots and celery in my refrigerator because I use them for a lot of different things.
Yeah.
I assume she's got carrots and celery.
She does.
Right? Onion? Oh, probably not onion for you.
A small amount.
Small amount. Yeah, you got to have some onion in it to get that broth and flavor. So,
Yep.
So yeah, I'm waiting for her. And then does she use the big thick egg noodles or the skinnier?
The big thick egg noodles, unless our girls don't like the thick noodles.
They don't?
So no.
What the hell's wrong with them?
So sometimes Ann will adjust and use the skinny noodles.
Okay, that's kind of like when my mom would not put frosting all over the entire cake because I didn't like frosting as a kid. She'd always leave a third of it without frosting.
One of the things that really gives this special flavor is a product called Better Than Bouillon.
I've heard of that.
Man, it's just so good.
Yeah, and I like a lot. I would put a lot. I love black pepper. I put a lot of black pepper in anything I cook. I mean, I go through black pepper. Those little tones.
Well, of course, that's up to you.
Yeah, that's all up to me. I just can put black pepper on about anything.
It's so flavorful that I don't add anything to it. I mean, it's
getting to be good soup weather too. I mean,
it sure is.
It's getting down to 39 tonight. I am not turning my heat on.
Yeah, chili fixins are going to be flying off the shelves this weekend.
I made chili the first time about a year ago, and it was good. I don't handle chili warmed up as well as I would soup. After a while, chili, it just kind of.
Well, it kind of blends after. In some ways, it's better.
I mean, I like chili, but I also pour a ton of onions in it, cheese, crackers, and then then you're eating just a ton of calories the way I do it.
Well,
because I love putting
it's like Mexican oatmeal when you do it like that.
I like putting the cheese and the onion on top of the chili after I pour it in the bowl, and then taking crackers and dipping. That's how I like to eat chili.
There you go.
But I like my chili also to be more soupy broth than thick. Great. I'm a more soupy chili guy.
Everybody's got a chili recipe, and most of them are damn good.
Do you like yours broth thick or more like soup?
The kind I'm used to, my mom used to fix it, and Ann fixes basically the same recipe. I think it's Better Homes and Gardens.
That's probably what my mom used to use, because I remember she had a Better Homes and Garden cookbook always nearby. Her chili was good.
And so it's a little bit thinner, but it's real good.
That's what I liked about my mom's. Yeah. It wasn't just really thick.
And I thicken it up a little bit with crackers.
Yeah, oh yeah, you got to have. I love pouring crackers into it. Yeah, no.
So it ends up thickish, but the flavor's really good. Mm-hmm. No, I love chili.
Oh, I do too.
And everybody's chili recipe is the best. And then we judge them in chili cook-offs, and there's usually like one real stinker among like 20.
But if I had to pick between chili and chicken noodle soup, I'm going with chicken noodle soup.
Me too.
Yep, absolutely.
Not because it's better for you, but just because
I'll be interested to see when you make this recipe. It's one Ann got.
Is it easy? Because I don't like to work really hard.
Soup recipes are normally
it's
pretty
not.
easy.
I mean, you got to cut up the veggies.
Well, I can do all that.
Yeah,
I can handle all that stuff. I mean, my mom used to make the best beef stew. I've never tried. Well, my pot roast almost turns into beef stew if I use enough beef broth. But my mom, she made this beef stew that was a cross between pot roast and vegetable soup. It was like right in the middle.
Yeah, I've never been able to perfect beef stew.
Her beef stew was incredible. God, I could have. It was my only complaint to her was there was never enough. I didn't like sharing it with family. I wanted it all for myself. I didn't like my dad eating a second bowl of it if there wasn't. I'd give him a look, and he'd look right back at me, and he'd be pouring that. He'd be spooning that beef stew in like, "Hey, you little creep! I bought this crap.
I bought this. It's mine.
You little freeloading SOB." I think my dad did call me a freeloading SOB one time.
Well, that's harsh.
Yeah, I was only 7. I'm kidding, Dad. All right, back to the Hawks.
Back to the Hawks. So looking at that, I'm looking at some of the other road trips.
Well, why don't you name them off? Reel off 24.
24 of the away games are Maryland, which I have been to once. Probably won't go back, but we really enjoyed it.
Well, Maryland's there's a lot to do out there.
Yeah.
That's a neat area. Maryland, Washington, D.C. area, there's so much to do within a 60, 90-mile-per-hour radius.
Michigan State I've been to once. Probably won't go back there.
I see my sister lives like 30 miles from me.
Well, then, sure. Been to Minnesota a million times. We'll probably go some other time, Ohio State, been there only once. Probably won't go again. Been to the Rose Bowl once, because that's where UCLA plays, right? Mm-hmm. So that would be an away game next year. Maybe possible.
It's a lot of money.
Well, but it's cheaper if you go through Vegas.
Yeah.
And meet your sister and brother-in-law and have them take you in their car to the drive to L.A.
But you're still going to drop $1,000. 2 people going, aren't you?
I don't think so.
Not on a plane. How much you get? What your plane ticket for? Like $200?
No, we'll
you drive?
No, we won't drive. No. Generally, the tickets are around $300.
Okay, so you're at $600 right now without eating, or do you just eat for free with you just mooch out
Some. Yeah.
Okay, but you're still gonna.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Even that though, that just shows you how expensive it is. I mean, there's a lot of people that couldn't do that. You're talking about something like it's a walk in the park, and it's going to cost you probably close to $1,000.
Well, we may not.
Even with meeting family and driving, that just shows you how expensive.
And we may not do it also.
But no, I say do it. You'd just be happy that you can do it. A lot of people couldn't.
And that's UCLA. And then the next year it's Nebraska, Rutgers. Oddly enough, as of right now, the only stadium I've never been to has been Nebraska.
Okay, and you're not missing anything. Trust me.
I don't know why. Lord knows we've had plenty of opportunities.
Because it's the day after Thanksgiving.
Well, I think that's probably it.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a big
And that
reason.
drive is so bleak.
And it is Lincoln.
It is bleak.
That's Lincoln. Have you ever been to Lincoln?
Oh, my God. Yes.
I was so underwhelmed when I saw. Because, like I said, you grew up as a kid like me. You grew up watching games from Lincoln on TV. Wow, Nebraska, Oklahoma, mid-'70s. It's like a magic land. Then you go to Lincoln for the first time. I was like, this is it.
But see, that's what the Rose Bowl was like for me.
Well, the Rose Bowl,
other than the mountains in the background.
See, I couldn't. The Rose Bowl was sort of like that, but everything around the Rose Bowl. I mean, Lincoln's Lincoln.
Yeah.
The whole trip, I mean, it was just nothing. Whereas I was mesmerized going from the Media Hotel to the Rose Bowl just by everything we drove by.
And that was very cool.
The home, I don't think there was one home that looked like another home. They were all completely different.
And you're right about that. Everything about it was good. The facility sucks.
Well, yeah, I mean, I remember the press box in the Rose Bowl wasn't very nice. Half the food they served us, I think, was outside. It was old.
Yeah,
it was
is.
old. And it kind of reminded me of Michigan Stadium and how the fans really weren't on top of the play. I was underwhelmed by the stadium, but everything else was incredible.
So UCLA plays their home games there, and they don't get huge crowds.
No, God, no. When you think Iowa's going to, no knock on Iowa, but Iowa will have their Iowa will do its part by bringing 10, 15,000 fans probably.
I'll bet they do.
But I don't know if UCLA.
Because you've got your California birds.
I don't know if that'll be enough to fill it the way UCLA. They don't draw that well.
No.
It's hit and miss.
Oh,
if they're playing really well, there's a lot of competition for. I mean, I've even watched USC play in their games and see a bunch of empty seats.
Yeah.
It's just different out there. Okay, what's the 25 one? You only went
away games.
What's after Rutgers?
Nebraska, Rutgers, and then USC, and they play in the.
Think
Coliseum.
about that. So in back-to-back weeks, they're going from New Jersey to California.
Actually, they don't have the dates yet. Don't know, but it could be.
But I think, yeah. I mean, I guess we don't know in the order. I just kind of assume the way they put them is how the order they're going to be in the schedule. But I guess we don't know that. But that very well could be. I mean, there's going to be some weeks where they're on the East Coast and they're on the West Coast.
So home schedule in 2025: Indiana, Michigan State, Minnesota, Oregon, and Penn State. So that's a little more typical type of schedule we're used to, only with Oregon.
And then you throw Iowa State in there. I mean, that leaves them one game to schedule a patsy.
Yeah.
Which they're going to do. They're not going to
sure.
be. They're not going to be going to the ACC or the SEC for that 12th opponent. They got to get one in there that they can have a pretty good chance of winning. Play it for sure at home.
Well, the SEC only has 8 conference games.
Yeah. Well, I know that's part of the criticism, and I get it. Criticize them all you want, but hey, who usually
wins? Who wins?
I mean, they can. I mean, that narrative was going. A lot of Big Ten people were saying, "Oh, the SEC, they're cowards. They won't play. They want to play that because they always have that week in November where they play. They all play
where they play Alabama, A&T.
You can rip them all you want, but they end up winning the national title almost every year.
Yeah,
a team from the SEC.
Yes,
so that argument doesn't really carry a lot of weight.
Not really. Okay, 26. The away games: Illinois, Michigan, Minnesota, Northwestern, and the aforementioned Washington.
See, now that, other than Washington, that's your old typical border state.
Yeah.
That ain't bad at all.
Other
than that trip to Seattle.
And then your home games: Nebraska, Ohio State, Purdue, and Wisconsin. So, I mean, no, Michigan.
So it's 9 games altogether, right?
Yes. Those are. I mean, that's a tough schedule. It's.
Oh no, there's always going to be either a Penn State, USC, Washington, Ohio State. There's going to be probably 2 of those on every schedule moving forward.
At least, yeah.
You think McNamara will be out of rehab by then and be able to start a couple of those games?
In 26?
Yeah.
I think hopefully he better be ready for next year because that is his last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless there's another pandemic, some of these careers, it seems like they have no end to them.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the extra year has been incredible. I mean, it's just.
So yeah, it's 9 conference games, right?
Yes.
So
we're still going to have 2 patsies a year.
And 2 patches a year in Iowa State.
Yeah.
And it goes back and forth between 4 and 5 road games, right?
Correct.
Yeah. And one year you do 5 road, the next year you do 4.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I'm actually kind of surprised they didn't make it 10 conference games, aren't you?
Well, it may yet.
It may get to that. That's what some people are predicting, and that would probably eventually get rid of Iowa State. Because then Iowa wouldn't have that option of doing. They'd still have to do and they wouldn't want to do the home and away because on an off year with that, then they wouldn't. They'd only have 6 home games.
No, Iowa's going to want.
They
7
have
home
to have
games.
7 home games. Well, they have to do that for a lot of reasons. Financially, is one of them.
Yes.
And the city needs that too.
2027 is an absolutely brutal schedule. Away games: Indiana, Nebraska, Oregon, Wisconsin. So at least 2 of those are
And
real.
4 roads, so 5 home games.
5 home games: Maryland, Michigan, Minnesota, UCLA, USC.
Yeah.
But
no Ohio State.
But no Ohio State and no Penn State and no Washington. But look at that home schedule. My God, compare it to this. You got Maryland, Michigan, Minnesota,
But the thing is,
UCLA,
we don't know
USC.
what Maryland's going to be like in 27.
No, that's true.
They could be crap in 27. They're an up and down program. But if you look at everything right now, yeah, I mean.
But you have 3 marquee home matchups against 3 traditionally strong.
Oh, sure.
Program,
yeah.
real strong program. Well, UCLA's up and down. They're
up and down.
Probably not much above where Iowa is.
No, they're more.
All.
If you leveled them out, they're equal to Iowa. They're just Iowa. Well, Iowa is more steady, winning between 8 and 10. UCLA kind of goes all over the place. I mean, when they're good, they're really good.
Do.
But they've been bad at times too. So that was 27. So what?
Yes.
So what's 28?
28. Your away games are Michigan State, Minnesota, Penn State, Purdue, USC.
Okay, that's true.
Home slate is Illinois, Nebraska, Rutgers, and Wisconsin. So, yeah.
Bob Cummings is probably looking down. Hell, I've already been through all this. This looks like our schedules.
Oh, hell, Bob Cummings had brutal schedules.
I mean, non-conference schedule, USC, Penn State, and UCLA one year.
Yeah, I mean, it's brutal schedules. Hayden,
who did that? Was that heavy?
Yeah, oh, I think so.
To try to make it hard for the next. Why would you schedule those games at home? I mean, when you're trying to rebuild, I mean, Cummings didn't stand a chance.
Well, keep in mind, Evie wanted to be both coach.
Oh, I know he did. Was he that?
AD.
Was he that spiteful though?
Well, maybe.
We'll get Marion back on and ask her. Well, she didn't describe him in all glowing terms. I mean, she acknowledged that there was some issues with him, but I mean, those schedules were made. Most of those schedules, I'm assuming, the 73, 74, those were probably made toward the end of Evie's run in the late 60s or early in Bump. Would Bump have done that?
I don't think so. Because, I mean, Bump was, Hayden absolutely said, we ain't playing this.
Well, I'm all for competition, don't get me wrong, but you also have to be realistic about it.
Yeah.
Cummings stood no chance. There were some years non-conference where they went 1-2, and it was incredible that they went 1-2 because they ended up beating UCLA. I mean, they were almost set to go 0-3 going into conference play back when it was the Big 2 and the Little 8.
Little 8, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, he was just up against such a deck of cards that he never really had a chance.
And now what is it? Will it be the Big 7, the Little 13?
Well, right now it's the Big 3 and the mediocre 11, wouldn't you say? I'll give Iowa and Maryland and Wisconsin, I'd say, are maybe a step above the other ones right now. But then you take the bottom 8, they could all beat each other on any given day. Are you looking forward to that Illinois-Nebraska game?
When's that?
It's this weekend. That's one of our picks. Yeah.
Oh, I did see your picks. Yeah.
Illinois.
Is that a Friday game? Oh, here.
I don't know. Look and see what it says.
Right here.
I wish it would because I wouldn't mind watching it. I would not be surprised if Nebraska.
Yes, it is the Friday.
It's tonight. I would not be surprised if Nebraska won that game. It's in Champaign, right?
Yes.
I picked Illinois, I believe, from my picks. I can't remember because all my comment was I spelled Brett Bieleman's name backwards because it's really weird.
Yes, it is.
It's really weird backwards. I couldn't think of anything ridiculous or petty to say. So, I'll watch that game. It'll probably be a really boring game, don't you think?
It could be. It
Low
has
quality.
that potential. I would think. I mean, Illinois is not very good this year.
No, and Nebraska. I can't wait to see the stands. how many people are in those stands. It's going to be cold.
Yes.
And Illinois is not very good.
No, they're not.
And they don't draw very well.
No, they don't.
They don't. I mean, even last year when they were playing well, I'd look at games and see empty seats.
Quite a few, yeah.
So it'll.
All right, got a quiz for you, Pat.
What network is that on? Do we know? Nebraska, Illinois? Does it say?
I don't.
Okay, I'll find it. All right, what's the quiz?
Okay, and I think you'll absolutely nail this.
Okay.
Okay. Best Big Ten conference record since 2015.
Best Big Ten
Big Ten conference record since
I would assume
2015.
Ohio State.
Okay, and then give me the top 5. That's
I would
correct.
say Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Wisconsin, Iowa.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely correct.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Okay, so
Fox Sports, by the way.
Okay.
Okay, so compare. How about Wisconsin and Iowa since 2015? Wisconsin's listed as.
They're maybe slightly better, but Wisconsin's power run, they were really good prior to that, too.
That's right.
To me, since about 2015, they've sort of been coming kind of back down to earth.
They've been.
I don't know what it is. I don't think it's that much better, is it?
48. Wisconsin's 48-24. Iowa's 48-26.
Okay. Yeah. They've been very similar. The one advantage is Wisconsin has won the head-to-heads a lot more than Iowa has.
Okay, 6 and 7 might surprise you, might not.
6 and 7 since 2015. Mm-hmm. I'll say Michigan State and Minnesota.
Michigan State is correct. Minnesota is 8.
Okay.
Northwestern is 7.
Oh, okay. Well, they did have 2 10-win seasons during that time, and won 2 divisions.
I see where Fitz is suing Northwestern
for $130 million. He'll get some.
Oh, yeah.
Because his stuff, to me, is way more debatable than the Mel Tucker stuff, assuming everything is true. All these allegations in both cases are all true. The Mel Tucker case, to me, is a little more cut and dry than Fitz, because a lot of the stuff that happened with Fitz, he wasn't around, reportedly, whereas Mel Tucker was obviously he was there for his stuff. So,
God,
but I do think Fitz will get some money for that, and I don't think Fitz has done coaching either.
No, I don't think so either.
I mean, it was funny when he was here with his kids. Of course, rumors. I had somebody say they heard that he's talking to Kirk about coming in and being an offensive advisor. I mean,
I don't know that I want Fitz as an
offensive
advisor.
No. As great as he is, I mean, no. I don't. They don't need that right now. I mean, I don't. But that just shows you how he was there because his kids were on. They were visiting the school, and so I thought that was kind of funny. It's just amazing how rumors can just take a life of their own.
So if Taylor Swift were at an Iowa game, then what would the rumor be that she's
dating? Who would she be dating?
Well, probably not one of the players. It'd be
a
too
little
young.
She's in her mid-30s, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. What would be the angle there? Because I don't want to say assistant coach if they're married, because I don't want to cause any marital. And obviously, she wouldn't be dating anyone in the media.
Maybe somebody from
that would be great.
KCJJ Radio, Jim.
That would be great.
Not? She's with Tommy Lang.
Old enough to be her.
That would be great, though, to marry Taylor Swift, because then she could make a donation to the 2 websites, and we'd be okay.
There you go.
Honey, could you make just maybe a small donation to Hawkfanatic?
Doesn't even have to be 7 figures.
No, just maybe $10,000. I mean, what's $10,000 to Taylor Swift? Is that the equivalent of like $10 to us?
Probably.
Yeah.
We have a call. Hello.
Right.
Hello.
Hey,
it's Greg calling from outside Chicago.
Hey, Greg.
You guys were talking about the schedules of the mid 70s.
Yes.
I had looked this up one time. Can I read something to you real quick?
Sure.
Yes.
1973.
Yeah.
Non-conference schedule: UCLA, Penn State, Arizona.
Yes.
74. UCLA, USC, Penn State. And then in 75 and 76, it was the same non-conference schedule, all in a row: Syracuse, Penn State, USC, and then opening the Big Ten season against number 1 Ohio State in a 4-week stretch.
What the hell are you going to do with that when you're trying to rebuild a program?
You're going to have a losing season.
He had no chance.
No.
Truly amazing.
Yes. Yeah. No. Thanks for reading those. Yeah. I remember that 74 one. I'll never forget that schedule. Thank you. I mean, your dad was still alive. What did he say about that?
He felt that Bob Cummings didn't get the support from the administration for one.
I've heard people say that, and a lot of people like Bob Cummings. He was a Hawkeye. He was an offensive lineman, and my brother's first year was under Bob Cummings. He loved him. I mean, he was the ultimate player's coach, and they wanted him to succeed.
And unfortunately, the last coach for my dad was Frank Lauterbur.
Yeah. Poor your dad.
And my dad also thought that Ray Nagel had a chance to
but
turn things
ruined
and
it.
Was close, but yeah.
Evie just out of spite and pity, just self-loathing, Evie just wasn't going to let Ray Nagel succeed for some reason. Evie was a very complex person.
So, but though, I mean, those schedules, those were set up by Evie.
And then Hayden came in. Remember, they had, and it was, remember, they played Oklahoma in '79. Yeah, there were still some. Those schedules were made, and Hayden. One of the first things Hayden did when he got, he thought these schedules are ridiculous. We can't succeed doing this.
Hello,
and he was right.
Hello. Remember back when we used to play Notre Dame every year?
I don't, because I wasn't born.
Vaguely.
50s and 60s and 40s?
Yeah, vaguely, because I was just a kid. And didn't they did they cancel out in the year was that Kennedy got shot? Was that?
I believe so.
Yeah, that was the one. That was the one. I think that was the game that you got your money back, or you had to send your ticket in to get. Oh, I sent my ticket in and got a program.
And wasn't that the last time we had Notre Dame scheduled, or am I wrong about
there was a lot of bad blood with Evie.
I thought we played them after that, but I don't know.
Not that I recall, but then my memory could be.
You mean the feigning Irish? Remember, Evie accused
that was
them
in the 50s.
Yeah. So there was a lot of bad blood.
L. Grady wrote a lot about that.
Yes,
about
he
the
did.
Feigning Irish of Notre Dame.
I loved how Evie did the
at
Grantland Rice thing. Yes,
that was at a pep rally, right? Yep.
And a lot of people hated Notre Dame because of that.
Well, they still do.
Yeah.
Oh, I know a lot of people.
A lot of people hate Notre Dame just to hate Notre Dame. I get that, you know.
My hate of Notre Dame has mellowed over the years. I mean, I'm not a fan.
Well,
still.
they haven't won a national title since 1988. I mean, it's not like they're a juggernaut. And I'm a Notre Dame fan, born and raised one. But they are what they are.
But I mean, we had a record in the 50s that had Evie's. It was a kind of a rah-rah Hawkeye record, and it had Evie's speech on it, the Grantland Rice.
You know, Notre Dame had a stretch where they weren't very good in the 60s. They've had some down moments, too, and I think Iowa took advantage of that. But
well, I used to get mad at people because some of my friends would root for Notre Dame only because they were Catholic. And I said, well, I'm Lutheran, and I don't go up and root for St. Olaf.
That's a little different, but I mean I mean, I root for Notre Dame because my dad played there, and I was born and raised to do that. Notre Dame, Iowa, and the Bears.
Well, if your dad played there, I can see that. But
those were the three.
Other than that, I don't.
Yeah, Notre Dame, Iowa, and the Chicago Bears. And how about those Bears last night?
Yeah.
Big win. On the day Dick Butkus dies.
Finally, yeah.
On the day Dick Butkus dies.
Butkus dies?
Yep. Yeah.
Is it supposed to rain tomorrow for the game?
Not at all.
Okay. Are we supposed to have any more rain today? Because there's that field hockey game.
Yeah, it's spitting, but it's supposed to be sunny by this afternoon. So.
Okay, so because the field hockey game is
versus
this
Northwestern.
afternoon
Number 3, Northwestern. Good game.
Yeah, Northwestern.
Yep.
Okie doke. Well, you guys have a good day.
Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Well, why don't we take a quick break?
Let's do that.
And we'll be right back.
You're listening to Hawkfanatic on the Mighty 1630 KCJJ.
Your life is always changing, and a lot of things can affect how and what you save. So a good retirement plan changes with your life. At Wells Fargo Advisors, we believe conversation leads to financial clarity. So start a conversation today. Wells Fargo Advisors. Together, we'll go far. For information locally, call 338-3799 or 866-217-2369 or stop by 501 12th Avenue, Suite 201, Coralville. Wells Fargo Advisors, LLC, member SIPC.
Car won't go into gear? Call Premier. Premier Automotive in North Liberty offers full-service mechanical auto repair, in addition to being Eastern Iowa's most trusted name in auto body repair. Use Premier for all your auto repair needs: brakes, oil changes, air conditioning, diagnostics, transmissions, or preventative maintenance. Whether you hit a deer or your car won't go into gear, see Premier Automotive in North Liberty.
The Sanctuary Pub in downtown Iowa City has been a fixture since 1972 and still features a classic menu, such as the classic shepherd's pie, handcrafted pizzas, and craft beers and cocktails. The Sanctuary Pub is known for its warm and cozy atmosphere. That's the perfect place to spend time with family and friends while enjoying live music. Support great local food with socially distanced dine-in, carry-out, and delivery through Chomp Delivery. The Sanctuary Pub is located at 405 South Gilbert Street. Full menu options are online at sanctuarypub.com. Come experience the Sanctuary Pub. You won't ever want to leave.
GT Carr, owner of Supple's Building and Remodeling, has been offering unmatched service and quality for over 25 years. The trained professionals at Supple's Building and Remodeling will install and guarantee the products used in any job, no matter how big or small. They also stand behind their work and offer no-nonsense, exceptional customer service from design to completion and beyond. Whether it's a simple window replacement or a major house addition, you'll have the confidence that Supple's Building and Remodeling is committed to quality. Visit supples.net or call them today at 319-337-2246.
If you're looking for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, you should know Deary Ford is here for you. To give you the best selection and pricing on new Fords, Deary Ford is here for you. To work with long-term experienced sales and service reps, Deary Ford is here for you. To give you the highest trade values, Deary Ford is here for you. To provide pickup and delivery and mobile service for our customers, Deary Ford is here for you. Hurry in or shop online at DearyFord.com.
Are you tired of living in a home that doesn't quite meet your needs? Then it's time to call the experts at Streets Maintenance. Their team of skilled professionals specializes in renovations and remodeling, transforming your home into the space you've always dreamed of. From kitchen and bath remodels to complete home renovations, no job is too big or too small. Streets Maintenance will work with you every step of the way to ensure your vision becomes a reality. So don't wait any longer. Call Streets Maintenance to schedule your consultation at 400-4483. Let's start building your dream home today.
We have 6 sales staff. 5 of them have design degrees.
I'm Brad Stork with Bachmeyer Carpet One Floor and Home.
A lot of people that come through our doors want to see what the newest is, what the latest and greatest is, what the trends are. They want to see what the color palettes are. That is why I have the designers on staff. We can work towards making sure that the flooring coordinates with what you've got just by hearing that's what my furniture is, this is what my wall color is. That picture that you saw on Pinterest, whether it be carpet, luxury vinyl tile and plank, whether it be tiled, ceramic, porcelain, natural stone, hardwood. I've got 100,000 samples to choose from here. If you're thinking that you're doing a full remodel and you want to see the colors with the flooring, we have paint samples for all of the major brands. Bring in your cabinet sample. Bring in your countertop sample. That's what our designers are great at. They know how to give you the look that you're looking for.
Bachmeyer Carpet One, located at 3402 Merchant Street in Floraville, across from Tyson's.
KCJJ Weather, brought to you by Plum Supply.
Plum Supply, kitchens and baths. Your home never looks so beautiful.
It is going to be partly to mostly cloudy today and a little on the breezy side. We'll get to 57 this afternoon. The wind west to northwest at 15 to 25, gusting to 35. Tonight, mostly clear, cold, low of 39. Tomorrow, partly cloudy, 59. By Sunday, partly cloudy, high back up to 65. And we'll stay in the 60s through most of next week. That's what's happening. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable on the mighty 1630 KCJJ. Temperature now 49.
And we are back with part 2 of Hawkfanatic on the mighty 1630 KCJJ. Jim Hunter on this end, Tom Suter, Patrick Harty on the other side. And somebody was patient enough to wait through the break for a call.
Will be a dynamic telephone call.
All right. Hello, sir.
Hi. No doubt about it, Tom. On Notre Dame, I remember the last time Iowa played Notre Dame was at Kinnick in the 1968 season.
Oh, we did. Okay.
They had Hanratty at quarterback, and Jim Seymour was their All-American end. And I can't remember if Rocky Blyer was on that team or not, but they beat us. It was something like 55-28.
Okay, yeah, I'd forgotten that one. So, okay, great.
Yeah, that was the last time we played them, period. And I wish we'd play them, if not on a regular basis, at least some of the time, because it would be fun to go to Notre Dame.
Sure
and
would.
It'd be fun to have them here.
And South Bend's very drivable.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's about 5 hours, maybe 6 at most, and it would be a nice trip.
It's about like driving to Minneapolis, I think.
Yeah. South Bend itself is not really a vacation destination. But
well, true.
No,
the Notre Dame
campus
campus and
is really
everything,
nice.
yeah, no, it's beautiful.
But any rate, no, yeah, Evie on the scheduling, yeah, Evie was not kind to the coaches.
No,
we knew a lot of the coaches in different sports, and very few. He did not treat his assistants well, other than Bob Flora, who he made his assistant AD. And as far as his coaches not on his staff, but the coaches that were under him in various sports, I don't know that he treated any of them really well. You know, we were at a retirement party for one of the coaches one time, and he was talking about Evie, and it was not flattering.
Well, he was a tough bird. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yes. But he was also very egotistical. And
I think that was obvious.
Most successful coaches are that way.
Yeah.
Well, yes.
He had a mean streak in him.
He did.
That too.
Yeah.
So, at any rate, well,
all right.
Hopefully the Hawks can win tomorrow.
Boy, we sure hope so.
You bet. Well, you guys take care.
Okay, and it was a dynamic call. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Yep, bye-bye.
Okay.
Well worth the wait. Thank you.
But, yeah, nothing he said there really surprises me. That's kind of how I would have envisioned Evie to be. And after talking to his daughter in that interview, she kind of she didn't make him out to be a saint. I mean, she said that he had flaws, that he was a flawed man in some ways, and I respected her for saying that. Of course, it's her father. She loved him, and he did a lot of good things. But Evie just, I don't get what his. And the other thing is, I guess when they realized what he was doing after he was turned down his chance to take full control, why didn't they make a stand? Why didn't somebody take a stand and say, "You can't do this. You got to help the." Why didn't anyone stand? Was everybody just afraid of him?
Yeah.
Even like Board of Regents and the checks and balances. I mean, everyone was just afraid of him.
You know, yes, they were. I mean, he was an imposing.
Well, he was. He was but you would like to think that they could handle things like this without it becoming a fist fight. Yeah, a fist fight. I'm picking Evie against anyone on the Board of Regents. I mean, Evie would beat up his own play. He could beat up his own players. When Evie was coaching in his 30s, Tom, I'm guessing there were years he was the toughest guy on that team.
Do we know how long have we had the Board of Regents?
I don't know. But there had to be checks and balances.
Oh yeah, I mean the board in control of athletics.
But when people saw the schedules that he was putting together, come on.
Yeah.
You know, poor Bob Cummings, man. The guy was just built to fail when they made him the head coach. And, you know, he had a 5-6 year. He had a 4-7 year. He was close.
You know, and if he had held Illinois State and Troy on his schedule.
He would have went 7-5, and he would have done what Kirk did. That would have bought him more time. Now, in fairness to Kirk turned that 7-5 into 31-7 over the next 3 years. It's not like they just kind of spun their wheels after getting that breakthrough season. They kept getting better. We don't know if Cummings would have done that, but my guess is Kirk facing that same type of non-conference schedule probably wouldn't have lasted.
He wouldn't still be here.
Yeah.
No, nowhere near.
Yeah, so...
and Hayden wouldn't have had the tenure that he had.
No, and Hayden wouldn't have come here if he wasn't given assurance that the schedule was going to change. Hayden was no fool. He wasn't going to come up here and be 0-3 going into Big Ten play. But remarkably, Cummings did almost do an upset almost every year. It seems like
he did.
Yeah. So, but yeah, those were tough times. Did you know him? You ever meet Cummings?
No.
You never did.
I never did.
Your dad liked him?
Yes.
Sounds like everybody liked him. But yeah, he was close. It just didn't. He just could not get them over the hump. And I think the non-conference schedule was a big part of it. Because back then you played 8 conference and 3 non-conference. There was even more emphasis of. I mean, the non-conference schedule was, is even a bigger factor. I mean, it was a 4th-year schedule, and man, when you're playing those types of teams, now at least Iowa's going to be playing them in conference play. I mean, so at least you can defend it that way. It's just I wonder what what do you think Evie would think of college football right now? How do you think Evie would handle NIL and Twitter? Imagine Evie on Twitter.
Oh my God.
Could you imagine Evie on Twitter?
I'm guessing.
Do you think Evie would be on Twitter? I don't.
No, and I'm guessing he wouldn't want his players on there either.
And how do you think he'd handle NIL? Just go to businesses and threaten them. If you don't pay my players, I'm going to beat the crap out of you. Because remember, Evie taught arm-to-arm combat during World War II. He taught soldiers how to fight arm-to-arm. And that was only 5-6 years before he became the Iowa head coach. You know, he became the head coach in '52, right, after Leonard Raffensperger, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, no. I remember people telling me it was weird playing for a head coach when you got these guys 18 to 22. Your coach is in his early to mid-30s, and he's looked at as probably being the toughest guy on the team. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't think Evie feared any player physically.
So what did you think about, was it Utah yesterday that announced that every single scholarship player is getting a new truck?
Hey, more power to them.
6-month lease.
If I was a kid, I'd rather, hey, could I instead, what's that truck cost, 34? Can I instead have the cash equivalency of that truck and do what I want with it? I'd rather do that, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
Well, it's an advertising thing. I mean, they're plastering.
Well, and they're getting these trucks probably for cheap since they're buying them in bulk or whatever.
Yeah,
but I'd much rather have the money value.
Yeah, the dealership's got the wraparound on it, and they pay the insurance and everything else. So,
well, the wrap on it wasn't the dealership.
Oh, really?
It was an online thing.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'm sure the dealership's name is going to be on there too, but
yeah.
But that's just the world we live in now, Tom. We're going to start seeing more and more stuff like that. I wonder what Brad Heinrich, when he saw that, what his thoughts were.
Actually, I saw what he said. He said, well, what he said, there are going to be a lot of problems with that, and you're not going to see that here.
I'm kind of glad he said that.
Me too.
I don't think that's what you want NIL to become. Every one of your student athletes driving around in a pickup truck. My guess is, don't you think some of them will probably sell them?
They can't.
They're not given.
It's a
lease.
6
it's
month,
a lease.
Yes,
okay,
and as long as they're in good standing and on scholarship.
So they basically are giving them to use while they're there.
Yes,
and then they'll keep recycling those trucks, or they'll eventually sell them as used.
Yes.
Okay, I see. Okay, I thought you meant they were just giving them to them.
Not quite.
Okay. But, no, I'd rather do it the way Iowa does. And I know that may not win some recruiting battles because Iowa's NIL is sort of like, I'm not saying it's like the offense, but it's a conservative approach, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely.
It's a conservative, more of a community.
Conservative,
fair
approach.
Fair, transparent approach where everyone gets a piece and the ones who are already here are rewarded more than. I mean, I know they had to promise McNamara NIL money to get here. I mean, that's part of it.
Yes.
But that was also a four-year proven player. That wasn't a 17-year-old high school kid. So it was a little different. Yeah, they had to. They wouldn't have gotten him without some NIL money. And I say more power to them.
Yep, and, probably wouldn't have gotten Eric All without getting Cade, I would guess.
Oh, I'm sure that helped, although All said that he was going to come here either way. So.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he said that a couple times.
Well, for a tight end, that Iowa should be pretty high on everybody's list. It seems like we should be getting the absolute cream of the crop tight end recruits, and we don't seem to.
Well, there is competition. I mean, Notre Dame's got a lot of tight ends in the NFL. Notre Dame's got more tradition than Iowa. Notre Dame's, I agree. Iowa's great with tight ends, don't get me wrong, but it's not like they're the only ones. There's a lot of other schools out there that have put tight ends in the NFL. And Michigan's got some tight ends in the NFL. So, I think we're kind of looking at it as from the Hawkeye point of view where there's nothing better than Iowa tight ends. And we can make a case, but there's other schools that can make a case too. And, to me, I'm never surprised if a kid picks Michigan, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Oklahoma over Iowa.
No.
It never surprises me. I'm more surprised the other way. That's just life.
No,
that's just the way it
true.
is. Same thing if I was a Wisconsin fan. Wisconsin gets, but usually Ohio State beats Wisconsin. for
yeah,
and that's just the way it is, and I don't know if that will ever change. It's
not only does Ohio State usually beat Wisconsin for recruits, they beat them usually on the field.
Yeah,
too.
the same with all the other teams in the Big Ten. I mean, Michigan's having this little run right now. We'll see how long that lasts. But Michigan usually beats most of the other. Then Ohio State and Michigan battle it out, and my guess is for recruits they're probably 50-50. I think you win some, you lose some.
Have you heard any scuttlebutt on who might Michigan State be looking at?
I have not.
Nothing?
Now that I haven't been looking either. I haven't been trying. I have not heard any names. I haven't. I think they want to give Harlan Barnett a chance. I think they'd love for it to work out, but I just think he's got too steep of a hill to climb. Doesn't have head coaching experience. I'll be surprised. Well, it'll depend. They have a lot of money. They're saving a lot of money. They're going to be able to throw some money at a new head coach. It'll be interesting to see if they try to go get a big-name coach to make what would be perceived as a lateral move. I mean,
that
Michigan State's got a lot to offer.
That contract Mel Tucker got was
But that was, I believe that was paid by one person of Michigan State. The guy, I thought I read where that guy who owns the Phoenix Suns, Matt Ishbia, the former basketball player who took over his dad's investment company and he's worth billions. I thought I read where he paid most of that.
Well, what was it, $98 million guaranteed?
Something like that, yeah.
Unless he's fired for cause.
Which he was.
Hello.
Hey, Tom.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of Forrest Savachevsky, you remember the old neighborhood up on Summit Street?
Yeah,
I walk by his house every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, he lived 2 doors down from a real close friend of mine since high school, actually since we were 5.
House was being painted yesterday. I think they were repainting the shutters on the windows. They were all down when I walked by.
Oh.
Yeah, and the Hawkeys lived there, all the doctors. But anyway, Tom, do you remember Rufus Ferguson from Wisconsin?
Vaguely.
The running back.
Yes, vaguely.
That was when Wisconsin was horrible.
Yeah, we beat them like 20 years in a row.
Yep.
Of all things, when Iowa was going through our drought, Wisconsin was worse.
I know it, but
yeah.
And yeah, I went to school with Bobby Cummings and Dougie Dunham.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we know the deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that wind.
Yeah, yes, boy, it's windy out there.
It's breezy.
Okay, well, thanks a lot for the call. We appreciate it.
Have a good day, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, I walk by Evie's house right there on Summit Street. I actually, almost every time I walk by, I think of him, too.
Yeah.
You know, I mean.
Every time I drive by, I do.
That's probably my favorite street in Iowa City, Summit Street. Some of those homes are getting a little run down. I mean, some of those homes need some work.
Well, think how expensive it is to keep
up
I know
those
somebody
houses. I know somebody who lives on there, and but some of those homes don't even have cement driveways. There's a couple homes there that just have like brick, your driveway out here.
Yeah.
I find that surprising on that street. And one of the nice homes, it looks like a duplex.
Yeah, I think somebody carved it
Well, I
up.
lived on Summit Street for 6 years. I rented the upstairs of a house on Summit Street. So they're not all just single family. I think there's some rentals on Summit Street.
There are, you bet.
And I'm guessing that wasn't the case 40, 50 years ago, was it?
No. Yeah, that was the primo address for.
Yeah, and it looks like it. And it looks like some of the
prestigious.
homes, though, it looks like maybe they're just not being kept. Is that fair to say? Some of the homes
I
just look
think
like they
that's
need
fair.
a little bit of work.
Yeah, they do.
From just walking by and looking at them. The paint is old, and I don't know but it does look like there's not as many single family people living in those homes now.
I think you're accurate.
But there's still the Victorian homes on that street are so cool. Evie's home is that typical colonial home, 2-level. I mean, white with the blue shutters and what have you. And my guess is it probably hasn't changed much since he lived in it.
Probably not.
Yeah, think about how close he was to campus. Now Kirk lives way out. You know, Kirk and most of the coaches don't live. Evie probably wanted to be as close to campus. I mean, he could walk to work if he wanted to. It'd be a little over a mile. You just go right up to then go right down Burlington Street.
It's so funny how different it is because Jerry Burns lived 2 doors down from
Didn't he
us.
live on Crestview?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 doors down from us. And, had a T-shirt in his back pocket, bearskin mowing his lawn.
Well, my guess is Jerry Burns wasn't making a ton more money than your dad was making.
Probably not.
I mean, it's just so different now. Yeah, the AD makes a ton of money now, and but the football coach makes even 7 times more than the AD. I mean, it was a different time.
Oh,
yes.
completely.
I mean, Evie made okay money, but Evie didn't Evie marry money too? Evie had money coming from all fronts, didn't he?
Yes.
Yes. And that probably helped him be on that street.
His wife's name, I think, was Ruth.
Didn't she come from money?
Yes, she did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, a lot of the big league baseball players had off-season jobs.
Sure, they had to.
Yeah, they had to.
Yep. Hello.
Part of my Hawkeye collection, I got this pamphlet talking about Iowa athletics, and it's old enough that it has a directory, and it has the office number and the home football number of all the coaches.
Think about
right?
that.
Wow.
I remember that.
And it's hilarious because it has it wasn't as far back as Evashetsky, but it's got it didn't have Hayden Fry's number,
no,
but it had Bump Elliott's, Dane Gable's, Lute Olson's, and Vivian Stringer, their office number and their home number.
A lot of stuff
that
ended with Hayden.
changed.
Hayden was very private in a lot of ways. He didn't want that stuff, and I think that he started to help change the course.
Well,
of that.
we didn't have to look hard to find the coaches' telephone numbers to call and sing beer songs to them. I can't remember if we had a directory or if it was just the
phone book.
Iowa City phone book.
Much different time.
Yeah, it sure was. All right, go Hawks.
Yeah.
How many of the games in the 50s were on TV?
Not very damn many. I mean, obviously.
So like that 50-8 team, not many people saw that team, right?
No.
Interesting.
I mean, there were some, but I mean, now you got 100 games on one way or another,
and 150 channels to
they're
play them on.
They're getting ready to play on the Peacock Network.
Yeah,
I mean, think about that. I said the P just so it's Captain's listening. I just don't say it as loud as I do the second half of the. We've reached a compromise.
Yes.
As long as I say the P, I can.
Well, I remember when Woody Hayes was coaching Ohio State. That was almost always every Saturday. That was the first game on ABC on Saturdays.
Yeah, I remember seeing Ohio State, Michigan.
Lot.
I remember seeing those Ohio State Michigan games. Dennis Franklin at quarterback when I was young.
John Brockington was the running back.
John Brockton for Ohio State. Yeah, I mean, I'll go Harlan Huckabee for Michigan. I just remember watching those games as a little kid. Oklahoma was on all the time.
Yeah, of
against
course.
Nebraska. Nebraska was on all the time.
Yeah, they were a powerhouse.
No, in the late 50s, most of those games
were not on
TV.
There wasn't much TV. It started. No. That stuff started mid-late 60s, didn't it?
Yeah, and they certainly. I mean, games like the Rose Bowl.
Those were on.
We're on, and I imagine your Woody Hayes and Bo Schembechler games were on.
Oh yeah,
I remember watching Woody's last. Remember when he punched Charlie Bauman, the Clemson linebacker? I remember saying, I think Woody's done. That was an unfortunate way for Woody to go out, but I really wasn't surprised. As great as he was, Woody Hayes was kind of a dick.
Yeah, kind of. Yes,
bully, mean. He was a more unpolished Evie. Does that make sense? And I think Evie was tougher. I mean, I think Woody was.
I think probably.
I think Woody intimidated just a lot by his press. I mean, Evie was a tough guy. I mean, Evie's the kind of guy, if anyone would have tried to jump him when he was the Iowa, they probably would have been in trouble, wouldn't you say?
I would say
I just know people that said he just was the most scary person to be around. And like when he took over at Iowa at 52, I believe he was born in. Evie would have been born. He blocked for Tom Harmon in 39, so he would have born in like 1780. So when Evie took over, what was he like in his early 30s? He retired at 42.
He was probably
33.
A contemporary of my dad. He was born in 1914.
I think your dad was a little older. I believe Evie was born because Evie retired at 42 in 1960. So do the math.
1918.
So yeah, and so when he took over in 52, Evie was like 33, 34 years old. I mean. Yeah. So think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's he just starts beating up players first day of practice. I've just talked to people that have said that to have to go to his office if he called a play. There was nothing more terrifying than having to face that guy, especially if you thought maybe he was mad at you. Just his eyes, he would melt you.
Jeez.
You didn't want to mess with him. And I'm sure your dad described him as being somewhat intimidating.
He did.
I think he was intimidating as a coach on the field and in the boardroom or like a staff meeting. I think he was the same way.
Although my dad and Evie had a very good relationship. I mean, my dad was like that. He was just a very...
Just got along with everybody.
Yes.
Kind of like you.
I try to, yeah.
Yeah, you're
well, that was my role model too.
Well, yeah, and you're not out to screw anybody or make their lives miserable.
No, not at all.
All right, I can't get this thing. Tommy, come here.
Hang on.
Let's take this important phone call. Hello.
Yes. Evashevsky taught hand-to-hand combat to soldiers going into World War II for the Marines.
We had mentioned that earlier.
My nephew corrected me. I guess I called it arm-to-arm combat, but no, yeah,
hand-to-hand.
Yeah, that's well documented. I mean, he did that. He did that. Did he do that here in Iowa City, or was it in Des Moines?
I am not certain.
I think it may have. I think it
might have been.
No, that's a big part of his legend.
Wow.
And that time he was probably in his late 20s. Well, 18, born in 19. Yeah, late 20s, early 30s.
So imagine how helpful that training mindset would be, teaching defensive linemen techniques, offensive linemen,
how
all
to shed
of that.
blocks, and
yeah.
So you cannot. Evie was a great football coach.
Yes, he was.
And I do agree with you. Now, it would have been interesting. You notice Evie got out before it turned into two platoon. He saw it coming.
He did, and that might have changed everything. Who knows?
Well, remember what Marion said, though. He also had health issues, which I was on. Didn't you say he had colitis, right?
Uh-huh.
She said it was terrible. He hated it. Made it hard to recruit. That was the first time I had ever heard that. That colitis is one of the reasons he decided he just couldn't handle the traveling and all the legwork that's involved with recruiting and what have you. So yeah.
But then why would he want both AD and
that's
coaching?
What you add. That's what you followed that up with her, and she said he's a hard man to read and understand. And I'm sure there were some Iowa fans that wanted him to have both, but I think it was the right move not to give him both. I just that's a lot of power for one person.
It is, and there was a segment that said, "Yes, give Evie what he wants."
Oh, I'm sure there was.
I'm sure there was,
out of fear and out of respect.
But for the most part, it wasn't. Wouldn't have been a popular thing.
Imagine being the AD and the head football coach now.
Oh my God!
I mean, think about that. How much?
Well, I don't know if Beth would be tough enough to be our head coach. Although she was she was a good coach, though.
That'd be funny. She takes over, all the offense just starts surging,
humming.
It's basketball on grass. That would be funny.
Yeah, she was a good coach.
No, she was a good coach, and like I said, I think she's doing a good job so far from what little sampling we have, and I will be surprised if she is not. I will be stunned if she's not given the title permanently here.
Me too.
Here's some.
I saw where Coach Brands came out very much on her side.
Yeah, they all have. Yeah. They all have.
Hello?
Yeah. Speaking of Evie, do you remember when he came, he brought Bump Elliott, Bob Flores, Mr. Codros, and...
Yeah, that was his staff.
Yeah, yep. I've written many stories about that over the years.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Whitey Pirro.
Oh, Whitey, yeah. Mm-hmm. Used to play football with his kids.
Yeah.
Well, carry on.
All right, we'll sure try. Yeah, that was the staff that I grew to know and love on the telephone.
Did you know Bob Flora?
Yeah, and I worked at a restaurant with his daughter, Cott, who's a wonderful... Cott, K-O-T.
K-O-T, is that short for something?
Yeah, I think it is.
Flora. Was she nice?
Yes.
Was he nice?
Great gal. I didn't know him I met him a few times, but I was
a
little kid.
Where'd he live? You remember?
No, I don't. I don't remember.
Then Whitey Pirro, of course, that's Andy Pirro's father, right?
Yes, and Doug's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, let's take this important phone call. Hello?
Hey, it's Greg calling from outside Chicago again. I just was, when you're talking about old Iowa football, I was just curious, do you guys know much or ever read much about when Iowa had two football teams on campus? When they had the military training? Was it the Seabees for a couple years?
I've read some about it, but I'm not real familiar with it.
Yeah,
I'd say, Pat, if you're ever in the off season or interested, I would find a story about it very interesting. But
Oops. Yeah, I don't know much about that era. The World War II era was
So they
just
had two football teams?
Because most of the players were fighting.
Oh, right, of course.
You know, because they were right in that age range.
Did that guy get cut off? What happened?
Yeah,
yeah.
Lost connection somehow.
He just got bored with us.
Okay. I'm looking at Steve Anderson's invitation to see them. 11 a.m. I may go over there right after the show.
Yeah, we're going.
I'm just going to be a little cold. It's outside, right?
Well, it's always cold and windy at the. Yep.
Hello. Hello.
Connection issues.
What's going on? Connection issues.
That must be the wind.
Man, it is.
Chicago?
It is really windy out right now, and it's pretty steady. I look out
Yeah,
that
it's
corner.
like so steady at 20.
Surprised that corn. When are they going to? Shouldn't that stuff be picked by now?
Be pretty soon.
Because a lot of it's on.
A lot of the corn's down.
Gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
The drive over there on Sioux, that corn's all gone.
Yeah, and most of the sand road is.
And soybeans are starting to come down.
And I did see the threshing machine or the reaping machine? It was down the road here.
The
Doing
raping
the soybeans.
machine.
Reaping.
Oh, okay. I thought you said the raping.
Doing the soybeans.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're
that time of
working.
year.
They're working their way this way.
Fall harvest.
Yep.
I like this time of year, and I don't mind 50s on Saturday. I
No.
would rather have 50s than more 90s. I'm done with 90s.
Yeah.
Aren't you?
That was kind of brutal.
I enjoyed them. You know, I enjoy nice
I don't
warm
enjoy-
weather
I don't
because
enjoy
we don't
90s.
get it all year round.
That's true.
Once it gets above 90, I'm checked out. I hate it.
Well, we're looking forward to harvest so we can see the road again.
Yeah.
Because it's been, 3 months?
Yeah.
At least. Because once it started growing, it grew fast.
Yeah, it's been
late June?
We'll say July.
Yeah.
Because by July 4th, you know, the old thing was knee high by the 4th of July, and it's neck high now.
Yeah, it's that saying is way dated.
Yeah, so July, August, September. Yeah, so we're in month 4 of not being able to see
the road.
And you know, I'm surprised that nobody's gotten in an accident pulling out of our lane here. Cause
I'm always very careful.
Yeah, you have to be.
'Cause, man, there's sometimes trucks just come flying by.
Man,
yeah. I mean, the speed limit's on the maintenance road, is it 45?
Something like that.
Why
I
don't
think
they
so.
have any signs up? Is that just...
I don't know, but there's people going 70.
Oh, I've looked down and caught myself going 55, 60. There's no incentive not to go 45 because there's no... What your defense would be, well, how do I know? There's no sign saying what the speed limit is.
Yeah.
Well, and there's a little bit of a dip in the road, so you can't see
There is.
everybody.
Oh, up there, yeah, there's 2 parts. On Sioux Road there is, yeah, you got to be careful. I mean, you definitely have to be careful on that road.
We've had a couple of near misses over the years.
Yeah, there's oftentimes people biking or walking on the side of the road. You just have to be careful.
Yeah.
And coming into our parking lot here,
yes.
I almost hit somebody last week.
Yeah,
Oh,
coming
plus
out.
you got that pothole you have to dodge.
Yeah.
That's been there forever, it seems like.
Yeah.
The lane's held up pretty well, though,
It's
this year.
pretty well.
Yeah, it's
No,
not.
this pothole's more in the parking lot.
Yeah,
it's
well, I know what you're talking about.
And if you don't play it right, you're going to hit it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I usually remember not to hit that.
You got to
heat.
take the wide turn.
You got to take the wide turn,
Straddle.
or go right over the middle of the pothole.
And that's what I try to
That's
do.
what I try to do is just
Yeah.
go over the middle.
Straddle
of
it, yeah.
Yeah. So that pothole's been here for a while, but no, the actual lane doesn't really have many potholes right now.
A couple of dips, that's about it.
Okay, saw some quotes from Beth Getz about looking at doing some things with Carver Hawkeye.
Yeah, I saw that. I actually met. They had the board of control. I believe she spoke at the board of control. Of
She
athletics.
did.
Yeah, I should have went to that.
And she got but there's been a feasibility study.
Oh, that's been This
Yeah.
is not new news or
No.
anything, but it was interesting to see. I mean, even talking about it is good. She did acknowledge they got to move they're thinking of ways to move the students closer. I thought about writing. I've written that column so many times, Tom.
Yeah.
It's not worth doing it anymore. But
And-
hopefully they will.
And so they're gonna for sure have some suites. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So there's gonna be some changes there. And I don't know. Obviously, I don't have an engineering mind, so you know, as a fan, there's some things I would love to see, some amenities. I just don't know if they're possible.
Yeah, and she didn't commit to anything. From the quotes I read about
Not
this,
really.
as far as moving the students closer,
She didn't-
She just said they're going to look into it.
And she said, and it's harder than you think, but yes, obviously
But that's a step further. Gary Barden never
Yeah.
said they were even going to look. He
That's
just
right.
dismissed the talk. So that's at least a step forward, saying they're going to look into it. And she's right. I've written a lot of columns, and I don't know everything that it's going to take to do that, but I still think it could be done.
Yeah. I do too.
I mean, look, they just built a wrestling facility in a couple years. I think they could do the stuff necessary to get the students involved. You just got to hope the students will embrace it and show up. I mean, what if they did move them and the students still don't show up?
For the chance to be on TV, you know,
I think they now.
Well, there's that. There's a little moon of those black seats that are behind the teams, and you know that would be perfect. But that's where they have a lot of the donors too. So,
and I think they need to set it up on bleachers so you want the students standing. You don't want them sitting. You want them standing during the whole game. That's what they do at Michigan State. That's what they do at Michigan. That's what they do at Illinois. They stand because they're basically standing on bleachers. That's what they are, and I think that's what you need. They don't need to have these soft, cushy seats to sit. You want the students up and standing and distracting and yelling stuff to the visiting bench. You want your students right behind the visiting bench, too. And you want them, that means they'd also be behind the Iowa bench to provide support, but then on the other end that they're yelling and screaming up there. That's what you want.
Yes.
That's what you should. And at least they're looking into it. I don't see anything happening anytime soon. Do you?
I don't know.
I mean, to say that you're thinking about doing a feasibility, I mean, this will be a ways off, but at least they're not just dismissing the idea.
Well, she also said that the funds would be coming directly from the donors and fans. There'd be no university.
It almost always does.
Yeah.
Anytime they do any significant project, it's. I mean, Kinnick renovations. Remember all the fundraisers they did for that? That's how they operate. And, you know, Iowa's shown over the years that they can raise money, and fans have shown that they're willing to spend money if it's the right thing. I mean, baseball's doing all their renovations. They're going to rely heavily on donors. I mean,
and that's going to be so nice when they get it done.
But it is going to be interesting moving forward if the money just keeps coming in and donors start seeing, wow, we're getting $100 million a year from them. I think donors, it'll be interesting to see if they're going to be as willing to help, because some of them I could see say, okay, what are you doing with all this TV money? Why can't you use any of that to rebuild your own facility?
And that's legit?
I think that's legit. It'll be interesting to see if that ever becomes an issue as the money continues to accumulate.
So I am still, in my mind, am surprised that as far as the swarm goes, that there's so little support from, like athletes in the NFL. There's just almost virtually nothing.
Yeah, they're all kind of living in their own worlds right now, trying to make as much money as they can in the small window that they have. And I'm not really that surprised. Maybe when they're done, maybe they haven't been approached very often either. I mean, it's hard to know what the explanation. But I'm really not that surprised because these are guys out there trying to get theirs while they still can. And then when they're done, then they'll maybe say, okay, I've got this much money. Okay, here you go. You know, that's my answer to that. I don't want to criticize. If George Kittle hasn't given any money to Iowa right now, I'm not going to criticize him yet because he's playing a sport where his career could be over just like that.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that may play into it some. So, but I was not aware. Where did you see that?
I've talked to him.
You talked to George Kittle?
No, to Brad.
Oh, yeah, and like I said, that doesn't really surprise me, and I'm not going to hold that against the athletes.
No, and he said another part of it, he said he felt that, well, we didn't have that, so...
Oh, kind of like, we didn't get a chance to do that. Why should we do that?
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's I'm sure that plays into it.
And, of course, basketball, there's not... What, are you going to get all your money from Keegan Murray? I mean, there's not a lot of...
No, that's a strong point.
There's not a lot to choose from in basketball, and but now the football
stuff. Good point.
We'll see. Let's see once some of these guys retire, maybe they'll approach them. But we also don't know how aggressive Brad and those guys have been reaching out to these guys. Did he say?
No.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously they don't want to be a nuisance. If you keep coming at the same people for money, it may turn them off even more and make them more resistant.
Yeah.
So
there's always
I'm one of those. I'm not going to tell somebody what to do with their money. But yeah, there's a lot of money. I mean, Riley Reif has made close to $100 million in the NFL, but I'm not one to say that I think he should give a big chunk of that to Iowa. That's his decision. And it's Brad and his people's challenge to get them to do it. And if they can do it, more power to them.
Yep.
That's how I look at it.
Yep. Well, it's NIL is so strange because there's still no parameters per se.
Right. It's the Wild West out there, so to speak.
I mean, your Texas linemen, one of their first things was each one guaranteed $100,000 a year.
Can you
till the
just think of
starts,
that?
I know.
I'm just
It's
reading.
a lot
It's
of
the
money.
17th annual Homecoming Tailgater, Steve Anderson. 17th annual.
I've been to a lot of them.
I've been to at least 4 or 5. Steve's a loyal advertiser. But yeah, I've been to at least 4 or 5. I don't know if I went last year. But yeah, they have it
I
right
did.
down in the front parking lot, right?
Uh-huh.
Right there on the sidewalk going into his business there on Highway 1.
Yeah.
Right there. So yeah, no, I'm going to probably head over there right after this.
He's a good dude to have on your side. That's for
Yes,
sure.
he is.
Yes.
He's not as active on Twitter as he used to be. I've noticed that.
Oh, he's busy,
Busy.
as hell.
Well, he's always been busy as hell.
Yeah.
But he seems to have kind of calmed down on Twitter a little bit. He used to have some fun on Twitter. I don't see him as much.
Well, he's got a wicked sense of humor. He
Yeah,
sure
occasionally he'll comment on somebody's post on Facebook.
But
and
I know
it's
he's been a
usually-
loyal supporter of my websites, and I know he's been
Station, yeah.
and we greatly appreciate that. And I think we help him get his brand out there too. I mean,
Oh, for
God,
sure.
I just got our monthly page views for September. Man, I couldn't have been more happy.
It's awesome.
We had a ton of page views for September. Now, hopefully, that it can continue. I mean, a lot depends on how the football team does. If the
Yep.
football team struggles, page views go down a little bit. Now, sometimes they go up, but it's always just the same thing. People venting and being pissed off, and the only thing they want to read is just, you only write. Can't just keep writing the same negative stuff over and over.
You know, and it's got to the point where I don't want to read anything about Brian Ferentz.
Well, it's to the point
I'm
now
tired of it.
where, I mean, he wasn't, Kilton Copeland was the assistant coach that spoke on Wednesday, and, you know, he handles the receivers and what have you, but he doesn't have really say on how they're used. I mean, he coaches them, but that's not his. I was hoping they would have had Brian Ferentz on Wednesday, but he'll talk at one time. Brian Ferentz he will do his one press conference. It'll be interesting to see what he says because we don't know. Maybe the offense will find some life before he has to go. It would have been a rough conference for him on Wednesday with the timing coming off because somebody would have asked him about the fire Brian Chance and what's he going to say? Oh, yeah, I was devastated. I almost wanted to cry. I mean,
Well, he's not going to say that.
he's going to say,
No.
hey, you know, I've got my headsets on. I'm not even worried about that.
I didn't hear anything.
That's what he would say, and that's what you would expect him to say. And really, what else is he going to say?
And he'd say, you know, that's
They're free to.
they pay their money.
They pay their money. They can say what they want. That's really the only thing he could say, and not dig a deeper hole for himself.
I'm going to go to each of their jobs and heckle them. That's
Because
what
if
I'll
he came
do.
out and tried to make himself feel like the pity victim, that would not go over well.
No.
And he knows that. And he's smart enough to realize that. Do I condone that stuff? No, but I understand where it's coming from.
I do too.
I understand where it's coming from, but it was, like I said, it was tough hearing it, man. I looked down at Kirk and I'm like, God, I know he's wearing headphones, but you know he's got to be hearing this stuff.
Well, you know, okay.
It's his kid.
Here's the deal. It's one thing struggling on offense, okay? It's entirely another to be the worst.
To be horrid.
To be the worst.
Yeah, I mean, they are really, they're historically bad.
Yes.
That's how I refer to them, and borderline dysfunction at times. It is.
And we've said it a million times. It's just everything, even when a play is successful, it looks hard.
Well, and like I'm writing a story today I'll post later, and I've written it before, but it's about the running game. And none of this stuff, all you can rip Brian Ferentz all you want. You can rip his play calling. You can rip his dad for being conservative. But their biggest problem on offense is the inability to run the football.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Hands above everything else, way above everything else. Because when they can run the football, everything else becomes so much easier.
And then the play action
But it doesn't
becomes
happen
so
very
much
often.
easier.
It happens way less than it does happen, and that's where the frustration is. And when you can't run the football for Iowa, I don't think it matters who plays quarterback. I really don't.
I agree.
Because in the games where they could not, a lot of the games with Nate Stanley where they couldn't run the football, he was not good. I mean, they couldn't run the football up at Wisconsin. He was terrible.
Well, and that was, it was such a Jekyll and Hyde
Going from
2-week period, going from perhaps the best Iowa offense against one of the best teams, and then one of the worst offenses you're ever going to
The
see.
difference, too, is Wisconsin didn't self-destruct like Ohio State did. I mean, what's the second play of the game or first play from scrimmage, a pick six?
Yeah.
From Amani Hooker.
Yeah.
And so Ohio State there was just something not right with Ohio State that day. And Iowa took advantage. More power to them for taking advantage of that situation. You know, but it's, but yeah, it's just the running game is just, I mean, like the one stat, I mean, everything I've found goes back to 2004. The most they've ever averaged in a year is 188 since 2004, and I believe only 4 times during that time have they've averaged at least 150. That's just not good.
No, it's not.
And a lot of people, well, we lost Caleb Johnson. He's our starter. Yeah, he is, and he's shown that he's good. Caleb Johnson's averaging 2.7 yards per carry when he was hurt.
Yeah, they were doing nothing.
They weren't doing any. They couldn't run the ball against Utah State.
No,
with him, they couldn't run the ball against Iowa State with him. Now, without him, they ran the ball against Western Michigan. That was more opponent than Iowa's running game, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely.
No knock on Western Michigan, but that said more about their defense than it did about Iowa's running game. It looks like the sun's kind of creeping out.
Yep.
And the wind's died down a little bit.
It is, yeah, considerably.
Getting ready for that field hockey match.
Wait
number 1 Iowa versus number 3 Northwestern.
It stopped hailing. Guys are swimming.
And then tomorrow it's going to be in the mid-50s, right, tomorrow?
Mid to late?
Right around 60.
Okay, no rain in the forecast?
No, this is the end of the rain. It's supposed to be cleared out by this afternoon.
Yeah, we got like a couple sprinkles.
Yeah.
So it'll probably be hoodie tomorrow,
yeah,
I guess.
I would
Fleece.
say.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but that's football weather.
Yeah,
and,
perfect football weather.
I'm trying to think what else.
I have a new hoodie to wear tomorrow.
Look at you.
What else we have schedule-wise just for our listeners?
This afternoon, the field hockey game,
That's
as you
at 3.
mentioned. The baseball team's playing a fall exhibition game against Indian Hills. Swimming and diving has their home opener against UNI at 5 o'clock. That's free admission. And rowing starts on Saturday. They'll do a thing with Drake. They're not a big spectator sport, unfortunately.
No, that would
but
be
it's
hard.
cool to watch.
I thought rowing would have started earlier.
Yeah, you would think, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you would, wouldn't you?
Interesting. Yeah, rowing is a tough sport to watch spectator-wise.
Yeah, and then soccer will be at Nebraska tomorrow.
I mean, where would you go? Would you be you don't want to be at the starting line.
You don't want to be over a bridge because the moment they go underneath you, they're gone.
Well,
then I guess at the end is the
best place to be. I
suppose,
guess.
But the race is over.
Right? Yeah, it's it's not like I guess if they did like big screen TVs and drones, so you could see the race up until then, that'd be great.
And what's next for volleyball?
Which
nationally ranked team do they play?
Well, I know Saturday
they're at Purdue Saturday night.
Is Purdue ranked?
Not sure.
Don't know.
But most of the Big Ten is.
Well, yeah, they just lost to number 1 Wisconsin out at Extreme. I watched a little bit of on TV last night.
Did you?
There looked like there was an okay crowd there. There were some Wisconsin fans there. Yeah, in Iowa they fought hard and they were you're playing the number 1 team in the country.
Right.
And they're number 1 for a lot of reasons, and those reasons all rose to them. Now the sun is out. Look at this.
Yeah, beautiful.
Boy, it's really changed since I came here.
Maybe that's a saying that we've been on the air too long.
I think it's all for. I think this is for Steve Anderson. Don't you think?
Oh, of course.
No, this is great.
The sky breaks for Anderson.
Yeah. So, Tommy got some police reports coming up?
He does.
All right.
So that you're still getting them?
Well, we cobble it together with what we have always had from like Washington County and the arrest reports and stuff like that.
So we're cobbling it together, but it's not quite.
No.
So are you going down there to get them?
They won't let us at this point. I don't know exactly
They
where
won't
we
let
are.
you in the building?
Well, I mean, I suppose they would, but I don't know that they're releasing the information. I believe it's in the hands of the legal profession at this point. There's a pro bono guy that is Freedom of Information Council or something like that that's taken on the cause. Randy Evans.
I recommended it through a friend of mine.
Yeah. So
cool beans.
Yeah, excellent.
All right, Hawkfanatic.com. Check it out. It is free, and please